This episode of Speak Now, Hold Your Peace is brought to you in part by Green Sister Botanicals, plant-based hair and body care. Visit greensister.com for your hair and body care needs. Stop complaining about them $25, $35 games.
I'm doing great, Jerry.
You like the clap, right? You like the clap?
absolutely.
Yeah, it's all right. You know. Brother is in the Richmond area, but he's from BK all day. Brother David, how you doing, brother? Yeah, we up in here. We up in here. We drinking. You know, we popping bottles. Popping bottles. And I just don't give a damn. Like, but when you come out your mouth with something like that, what you saying and all that stuff you say, then I'm gonna address it.
Welcome to Speak Now, Hold Your Peace, a live broadcast with real conversations about community social issues, politics, business, health, self-care, and more. We broadcast live on the Speak Now, Hold Your Peace Facebook group and the Speak Now, Hold Your Peace YouTube channel. And now, here's your host, Saywuddafeel, Dre.
What's going on, people? Welcome to Speak Now, Hold Your Peace. I am Saywuddafeel, Dre, and today I got something to say. I got a lot to say, but you know, I've been told that I talk a little bit too much, so I got two brothers here that's going to do a little talking.
No, say it ain't so.
I got two brothers here that's going to do a little talking for me. Let me introduce, let's see, y'all both great. So, you know, I'm trying to figure out, you know, you can't say the best for last when you're both great, but I'll go alphabetically. I got my brother here, Brother Arden Gist, man. He, I saw one of his lives and he spoke some knowledge and, you know, I said, you know, I got to have him on here because, very knowledgeable and, you know, making a lot of sense with what he was saying. So it was only right to bring him on the show. So I want you to welcome Brother Arden Gist.
Hey.
Got the clap for the brother. Got the clap for the brother. One more time. One more. Yeah, that's right. Keep it coming. All right. We good. All right. And my second guest, let me just stop here before I introduce my second guest. Let me tell you something. I still do. Sometime I'll go to my neighbor's house and borrow some paper, you know, printing paper, and they give it to me the first time. Second time I go there, they'll give it to me again. Third time they're like, all right, Dre, you taking up my paper. Fourth time, oh Dre, you're gonna have to start paying for this. So this is no different. This brother here has been on the show. I think this is his third time. And
I'm for the founders.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start paying this brother to be on this show. Y'all give it up. Who was once known as David Fagan. Then he went to Dr. Fagan, and now he is Dr. D. Give it up for Dr. D, y'all. Dr. D, y'all. Give that brother some love. Dr. D, y'all. All right.
Oh, he's in rare form tonight.
I am, man. We ain't gonna be on here long today, man. But you know, you never know. But so I wanted to talk about hatred and how hatred can consume you to feeling different. How hatred can consume you to think, act, how you treat somebody, and it's a serious topic, man, because I think we're living in a world where you know, hatred is driving all these negative actions and things like that. So I definitely want to give the floor right now to Brother Arden, and Brother Arden, what's your thoughts on all of this, man? You know, we just had a couple of shootings, one in Atlanta, I believe it was Atlanta, shooting up spas, and you got guys shooting up stuff in grocery stores. What's up with all the hate, brother?
Wow. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk to you tonight. And I think that there is there's a poison that is giving people a subliminal or subconscious type of power. And so there becomes it's not that big of a deal type of energy. And I think that it becomes downplayed to a degree where a lot of people subconsciously or subliminally interact with it. And if it's not taken into grips, it can become a monster. And so it starts with little things like this guy on my job is from another country and I hate that country. You know what I mean? And you're looking at that guy in your job and you're thinking, oh, I would have such a better position if this guy was not on my job and not from that country, and I just can't stomach it. And so what happens is it starts with just those little minute thoughts, and then it grows into a spa shooting. It grows into I'm going to align myself with just people that I like and start to hate people from other segments of life. And so I think the subconscious and subliminal hatred has attacked a lot of individuals, and now it has just grown and grown and grown, and we're seeing the results of it. And so I think the poison is it is very small in some instances, but if not carefully or quickly put into subjection, that thought, that energy, that hatred can go into endless measures. And so that's the great poison.
Okay. Brother Fagan, do you think I'm gonna be careful how I ask this question because I want to make sure it's clear. Let me ask you, do you think hatred affects you? I get it. The person, it does affect you when you hate. Do you think it affects the people around you, like your family?
Well, Booker T. Washington said that you can't hold a man down without staying down with him, right? So you have to take from that part that, when the hate consumes you, it's the energy and the time. And, even somebody says it doesn't even make good business sense, because when you don't sell to somebody because you don't like how they look or what race they are or whatever that they're into, whether maybe they're interracial or something like that, well, you're not making any money. But it does affect everybody around you because everybody gives off the energy, right? But the thing is this, is that our family and our friends, your closest family, your closest friends, they're with you because they're loyal to you. So when someone's loyal to you, what does that mean exactly? That means that, hey, they take on your enemies. They take on your cause. You're my boy, Dre. I don't have to worry about anybody ever talking bad about David Fagan in your presence, right? And likewise. But the problem is, if I have some bad energy, if I hate somebody for whatever reason, okay, so now when you interact with that person, your loyalties are conflicted because you have to be, well, Dave is my guy, Dave is my friend. I don't want to associate with this guy, but why should I have to? But the reason why David is not associated with him is irrational, because he just hates him for whatever. So you're 100% correct. If one person hates a group or has whatever type of prejudice, that affects everybody in that circle that they consider that person, either a family or a friend.
Right.
And it almost spreads like a virus.
Right. And I was just reading I was just reading something. I got it right here. It says, and I'm going to read it to you. It says, feelings of rage and hatred build up in the mind, body, and soul, affecting the body's organs and natural processes and breeding further negative emotions. Hatred is a form of obsession, fixation, and judgment that is harmful to you. If continued, it leads to conflicts in relationships and to body diseases.
Yes.
When I read that, I thought about something, and I'm not one to hide any of my faults, but there was times when I read that, I thought about something. I used to hold some grudges sometimes with people I work with. So when I come in, I'm like, I'll come in a nice mood, whatever. And then when they're around, it's just like, I don't get quiet, but I just feel that I don't want to be bothered with them. And I'm just like, a whole nother thought process. When they're in my presence, a whole nother thought process has just changed me. And so, in other words, I was giving the bank money when they wasn't asking for it. I'm giving them too much of my energy. And the crazy thing is when we do that, because I say everybody, sometimes we've done it. Everybody has done it. When we do that, we give away so much. We give more than than the point we're trying to prove of not speaking to them or whatever. But it's just too much. Like, it's a lot of energy. You know what I mean? And I've learned.
Go ahead.
I've learned
yeah.
Well, I've learned to just and I'm not perfect with that still, but I've gotten a lot better because and half the time it was just like, it was stuff that going on with me, like, okay, well, maybe I took it the wrong way or whatever, but I've learned not to let that stuff consume me.
And maybe Arden can slide in on this too, but the problem though is that hate camouflages itself, and it can manifest itself in different ways. Like, for instance, like the example I used earlier, or you just said not letting a grudge go. Well, I used to pride myself in that. If somebody offends me, I don't forget. I got a long memory. I'm going to get you back. The problem is that the whole time that I'm memorizing, I'm carrying this whatever bad blood I have with somebody. They've forgotten it. I think it's kind of cool that I'm protecting my pride or whatever offense that I've taken. And over time, the other person has moved on with their life. They've done whatever great things that they're going to do in life. However, we know the person that's still carrying that grudge, carrying the hate, carrying that prejudice, it's eating us up on the inside. But we think it's a good thing because society has said, what, I might forgive, but I won't forget.
Right,
well, guess what? Right. If you don't forget, you're not really forgiving.
Right. All right, Arden, what do you think about that?
I think that what you said was a very transparent statement. I think what Dr. D said was also a honest assessment about not letting grudges go. I think the most unspoken effect of hatred is that in a lot of instances, we don't understand that the energy that goes out towards that individual or circumstance or position, if it's hate-filled, we don't understand that it somehow, some way strips us of our good grace and blessings. So let me give you an example. I'm saying, oh, I hate the CEO of Nike for some reason or another. I hate the CEO of Nike. And I just can't get it out of my heart. I hate the CEO of Nike. But guess what? Because I'm releasing that energy and because I'm releasing that spirit, I'm telling the earth, and I'm telling the 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 universe that I don't want to be blessed to that capacity.
Mm.
When you put that out, you almost limit yourself for what can come towards you, what good graces and blessings can come towards you. And so I think that's the unspoken thing about hate, right? This kid, 21 years old, he shot up uh, um, the spa in Atlanta, and people died, but he robbed himself. At the age 21, he just began life.
Right.
Now he's in jail for the rest of his life. Now he's haunted by these people that he killed. Now he can possibly face death penalty. Now he could get beat up every day. Who knows what his fate is, right?
Right.
His hatred robbed himself. And so I think that's on a larger scale, but I think even on smaller scales, hatred can rob an individual of what goodness and grace and blessings they could have coming towards them.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but the other thing though, and I know you got to want to move forward with it, Dre, but the problem with this country that we're living in now is that, and I said this before about hate camouflaging and masking itself in so many different forms. And I know you probably was going to touch on this, but we just got finished 4 years with the president who basically enveloped everything that came out of his mouth with some layer of hate or prejudice or irrationality against either individuals or large groups. And the problem is, like any organization, is that, you know, if you want to know how an organization operates at the bottom, look at the top. President Trump, Donald Trump was the top of this pyramid. He led this country. And if you want to know why the masses, you know, everyone was at each other, well, it all filters down.
Right. Right. And I honestly, and that was something I was going to talk about, how, you know, other people's hatred can also feel hatred with others. Because like you said, I've seen this before. Like if somebody's saying something about you, then, you know, it's a different look now. I've never hated anybody. It's a strong word. I've used the word before, and I you know,
I do hate George Zimmerman. If there's one person that I do hate, and I wish, you know, given the opportunity, he could leave this earth, it is George Zimmerman. For some reason, I have no malice towards that level of hate towards anybody except for George Zimmerman. Continue. I'm sorry.
And well, since you said that, I want to get on that. So here's the thing. Like I said, I don't know. I don't think I can. I don't hate anybody because there's something about my, you know, my spirituality that like I'm not supposed to hate, and that's what I'm telling myself. But if you say that, being that you said that, do you think that because you, and believe me, nobody's perfect, and we all sin, and you know we all make our mistakes. Do you think? How do you think when you pray and stuff? Do you ask God for forgiveness for feeling that way?
I think if there's only one person or there's only one person that's on my hate list, I think that's a win.
Okay.
You know, there's a lot of other folks that people hate, but I you know, you try to find it in your heart because, like you said before, you know, you can't really hate somebody without being sucked in with them. You know, but it takes some certain maturity to get to that level. Because especially when you're young, I mean, you know, especially the younger you are, you're trying to find purpose in life, which is why a lot of these hate groups and these white supremacist groups and, you know, whatever, people get into this stuff because they want to find a purpose. And hate can drive you. Hate can give you a purpose. Hate can wake you up in the morning, and you can find that hate in everything that you do until you wake up one morning and you realize that it's all for naught, right? But I mean, God doesn't like hate. God, you know, God doesn't allow hate. And it's really impossible to hate somebody or even be part of some type of doctrine that hates people and still turn around and say, yeah, I believe in God and I'm a Christian or I'm a man of or a person of faith.
Arden, what's your thoughts on that?
I think that you guys have touched on something that I didn't think about. there is a collective agreement. There is an alignment when it comes to hatred, right? There is a posturing with family members and religious groups and community and sports groups, right? We're all on the same team. And so if we don't like that type or that thing, then everybody puts out that hatred, right? This is the China virus. This is
right. That's right.
This is the China virus. And so now, because it was originated from Wuhan, China, we don't like Asians. And so I'm not saying everybody would fall for that, but there are some that will fall for that. And we see the results of an alignment with being loyal to your group, your team, your community, your religious group, whatever.
We versus them.
Yeah.
That's the hard part about hate. And that's the strength of an individual to realize that if I participate in that energy, if I participate in that thought process, I'm robbing myself, I'm offending God, and I'm creating a war, because ultimately we all see the war that's happening. Some people are dying over this war, this hate war.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not one person, it's not two people, it's hundreds and thousands of people being impacted by hate, just dying because another group of individuals that don't like you. And so that's the hard part, that people are aligning and following others' thought processes versus standing up and saying, I don't have to think like that.
Right. And Rodney Poole, he says here that, let me just stretch this out a little bit. Rodney Poole says, I have complete hate for some people's behavior. And I think that's a huge difference. It's okay. I think it's okay to hate the behavior. If you hate the person, I mean, that's ain't nobody perfect. Nobody's perfect, because don't get me wrong. I've said I've hated people before. I've said I hate him. And I was talking about Trump. It was just like spared, like it was my anger and my emotion saying that. When I don't really hate him. I just said it because it was my anger and my emotion speaking for me. But later on, I'm just like, no, I don't hate him, because something about, and that's with me. Like I'm constantly always thinking, God is watching me. And yet I still make mistakes, because nobody's perfect. But I almost feel guilty after I say it. And, sometimes my wife says, you shouldn't feel that way. You shouldn't say that. Don't say that. And, I do feel bad, but it's a human emotion. Like, it's an emotion that, it's an emotion and an act to me.
Right. But it comes from passion, though. I mean, as humans, we're passionate creatures, right? And we feel strongly, we feel strongly about a lot of things, and unfortunately, just as we love deeply, we hate deeply, or we can hate deeply.
Right.
I mean, of course, it is easier to love than to hate, but it's not easier to turn the other cheek than to fight back or to strike back, immediately.
Right.
And therein, that's the battle that we all face as humans and of people.
Reality, though, you brought the word love up. You brought the word love up. If that young man had any ounce of love in him, he wouldn't have killed those people randomly. What's causing people to lack empathy, kindness, compassion? What's causing that energy? What were they subliminally riled up to say we're going to lose our country? Make America great again. We're losing power. I don't know. How does a person become that angry? How does a person fly into the Twin Towers willing to kill themselves? How does a person get to that point?
Right.
And so I'm I hear people now saying this young man had a mental illness and it wasn't a hate crime. So they're ignoring the act of or the massacre, and they're trying to defend. They're trying to come from another angle and say he had a mental illness. But the act of murder alone is hateful.
Right.
There's
Right.
no
Right.
love in that.
Right. Because you can't love someone and kill them, and you certainly must hate somebody to kill someone you don't even know, that you've never met before that particular day.
Yeah. Rush Williams says it's an emotion. However, you have to channel it into something positive. I agree. We all have the ability to hate something. Absolutely right. That's a good point. Because, like I said, I've said it before, and it was just my emotions, and I think our emotions. I try not to make any decisions or react based on emotion, and I am such a work in progress. And when I say work in progress, meaning I'm still working on it. You know, it's going to take some time with me because it was just like, it was just something I've been doing. I've been doing me all my life. And after a while, you get older and you realize that. Your emotions and your actions, they have to be controlled, and you can't let emotions dictate your actions, because that's dangerous. And that's how you get these shootings in spas, so gotta be careful with that. Do you guys think, hatred is more, how can I put this? Do you think hatred is more conditioned by people they are around, or when they were young, with family, or is it more by an action that caused you to hate somebody?
Let me run with this for a second on it. It's just something you just said before about as you get older and you realize that you have to channel, you have to put some type of filter on your emotions, or what things can turn into hate, right? I blame a lot of it. When I say the culture or society, I'm not talking about TV. I'm not talking about social media. I'm talking about when you look at our particular country, these United States of America, and we see the large number of hate crimes and even gun violence in the inner cities, and just this level of disrespect to the willingness to take other people's lives. They don't have this in other countries. And I'm not saying that America is not a great country. Clearly, other countries can be great because America is great.
Right.
And we just didn't get great. We've been that for a while. But the problem that I think we're starting to understand here is that what you just said about putting a taper or putting a filter on your emotions so they don't turn into hate. Is that really a quality that this country exalts? Because this country exalts qualities like, say, the first thing that comes to your, don't hold back. Say the first thing that comes to your head. Say how you feel. Say,
Hey, watch it. Hey, watch it.
Yeah, well, what
watch
I'm saying,
my name. Don't talk about. No, I'm just kidding. But go ahead. You making a good point. Go ahead. I'm just joking.
But you know where I'm going with that is that with this country rewards you for basically not being filtered at all. And look at the president that came into power. Trump was rewarded for basically having no filter. And people, even who didn't agree with him, this country has conditioned its citizens that we respect and vote for people, even though we don't agree with them. Well, they say what's on their mind, and they don't care who it offends because it's coming from the heart.
Right.
So people have actually voted against their own best interest. It's almost like, I think somebody once said that the lambs voted for the wolf because one lamb said to the other lamb, "Hey, I like this guy. He really speaks what's on his mind. He says what he's going to do, and he turns around and he does it."
And you know what's crazy? A drunk person does that too. So are we?
Preach.
Do we vote for? Do we vote for an alcoholic on the street? Because they say they say what's on their mind, and they tell the truth. They tell the
I'm
truth.
pretty sure we have voted for either alcoholic or drug addict at some point in time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Arden, what do you think? If someone comes up to you, right, and they say, you know, I have some hatred for this type of person or for these people, and I need to step out of this hate, and I need to stop this hate. What do you suggest I do? If there's someone came up to you and said that, what would be your advice to them?
Your question is if someone's asking for advice to stop hating?
Yeah, like let's just say I hate African Americans. I'm white, I hate African Americans, or I'm black and I hate Caucasians or whatever. And I have a gun, and I say, look, I hate him. I'm going to go shoot him. Or let me take that back. If they said they actually want to stop the hate, what do you say to somebody who wants to stop the hate?
What you're saying is happening,
right?
And someone said someone suffered last week. I think a lot of times, I know a kid in high school. He got his money stolen in the gym class. And he said, you know what? This won't happen to me again. Before I become a victim, before I become prey, I'm gonna be a predator. And a lot of people have been victims to some degree, whether they've been fired on the job, whether somebody took their position, whether something happened to a loved one. A lot of people have been victimized, and they can use that as a launching pad to do an onslaught on an entire region or a group of individuals. But how many times are those just isolated incidents? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I told an individual last week, I said, listen, if you let hate get in your heart, you're robbing yourself. There's millions of people, and everybody part of a race, every party part of a group, every female, every male. You have to deal with people individually. You cannot base one isolated incident and say that's the end and the start of all things. And so I told this person last week, I said, listen, I know you had some hardships and dealing with other cultures, but you're going to rob yourself. You're going to miss out on a lot of great things because you're indulging. And don't try to convince me, because I may not be able to convince you, but I'm going to stand up on my own 2 feet and say, I refuse to be involved. I refuse to be involved in that, because the results that I'm getting, it's not substantial to a president. The results that I'm getting is not based upon a culture. The results that I'm getting in life is not based upon acquaintances. The results of my life and the things that are great that's happening in my life are only because I'm not a hater.
Right.
I'm telling you the secret.
Right.
I'm telling you the secret. If you can find love in your heart, if you can find compassion in your heart, if you can find kindness in your heart, the life that you dream of can happen.
I agree. That's deep.
The life you dream of can happen.
Absolutely.
But you know, Arden said something about the victim mentality, that, you know, how people use the victim mentality to turn around to become a predator. You know, we have seen that so many times off the course of history. I mean, Hitler, the way Hitler, you know, they said that physically Hitler himself never killed anybody. They have yet to find a documented case where he pulled the trigger on somebody. But of course, he's responsible for the deaths of like 8-9 million people. They can't quite come up with a number, 12 million people, depending on who you talk to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how did Hitler do that? Hitler basically told all the German citizens, after World War One, that's when he rose to power. He said, "Well, we lost World War One because of the Jews. The Jews didn't fight hard enough," and he turned the Germans against the Jews. And he basically say we lost, and of course there was a lot of sanctions against Germany after World War One, and there was food shortages because they had to pay all these reparations to these different countries. And Hitler used that to that sort of victimization that, woe is us. And that's how he was able to channel all that hate to do what he did. And until people get away from that, nobody wants to be a victim. Got it. But there's something to be said for understanding that you've been victimized and to not do it to somebody else. But in order to do that, you have to recognize that, okay, yes, you were victimized, but you're not a victim. Right. And we live in a culture now to where people get victimized all the time, but they think it's a sign of weakness to acknowledge that. How many times have you heard somebody say, "Well, I'm not a victim," so even though they've been oppressed or things have happened to them because of their race or their gender or whatever, but they don't acknowledge it. They don't want to acknowledge these things that have happened to them because they don't want to sound like a victim.
Right. And yeah, I agree. I think we all have been victim of something, especially if you, this goes beyond African Americans, but especially if you're African American. You may not even know it. You may not think it's a big deal, but the level of what you think the damage is does not dictate if you're a victim or not. If you think it's no big deal, you're still a victim. You just don't think it's a big deal. I remember when I was first grade, I told a girl, it was a white girl, I was waiting at the bus stop with her, waiting for the bus, and her lollipop was she bit it and it was broken. And I was like, my lollipop looks better than yours, because I still had mine. I wasn't biting it. She was biting her, so hers looked messed up. Okay. She's like, "Oh, well, at least I'm not colored like you." I didn't care then. I didn't care then, but I was a victim of racism, man.
And she was a victim of bullying.
Yeah, and she didn't know
it. Both of you victimized each other, and because you didn't realize it, you turned around and used that victimization as a reason to strike out.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So it's interesting. And it's just funny because I remember Arden was saying something about what made me think about something was that I've experienced. This is just keeping it real. I'm not picking and choosing a race. I'm just telling you what has happened and what I've seen. I've experienced a white person say, I asked them, do you not like black people? Well, I got robbed by a black person, but I got black friends. Okay, so here's the thing. You're judging black people based on that one thing that happened to you, but yet you got black friends that you barbecue with or go to games with. What about those good experiences? Why not base it on that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's just like, why take all the bad stuff and make a decision? If you got black friends, you should know that all black people are not like that. You're screaming and yelling, all cops are not bad. Well, all guys driving a Mercedes Benz in the neighborhood 12 at midnight is trying to rob somebody, or the car may not be stolen. The car's
not stolen.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just like, let's not judge each other based on or just judge how we treat a whole race of people based on your one incident just because somebody black may have robbed you. Because if that's the case, then I've been victimized by a few races. And I mean, so that's just something I wanted to say. But real quick, I know we got to get out of here because it's I know Brother Arden has to go ahead and go. Just a quick final thought, real quick from each of you, and then we're out of here.
Artie, you want to take it first, or want me to roll first?
I'll go first. I think this was great. It's going to always be an important thing. How can I put it? I heard a man, this what really brought me into consciousness of it. I heard a man that did about 10, 15, 20 years in jail. I don't know the exact number, but he did a lot of time. And he began to talk about this subject. And he says, I don't allow my children to hate. I tell my children that they can do whatever they want to do. And I said, wow, that's very noble considering his circumstances, right? You think a guy that done 10, 15, 20 years in jail would be mad at the world and say, it's all right, son, by any means necessary, do what you got to do. But he says, I don't allow my children to hate. And after hearing him speak in that manner, it gave me a more sensitivity to the subject of hate. Like, wow, how often do I engage in hateful thoughts or hateful conversations, and how does that begin to impact my life? And so after hearing him say that, I took a conscious thought to say, you know what? I don't want to be involved in hate. I don't want to be involved in it. I don't like Donald Trump. To a degree, I hate Donald Trump, but I'm gonna make a conscious decision to say, you know what? I don't want to be involved in that. And so, yes, it's a real emotion, but if we can make a conscious decision not to engage in it, we could potentially stop the poison that is unfortunately in our society today.
And poison it is. Brother David, Dr. D, go ahead and your final statement real quick.
Yeah, something I realized, even just the three of us, talking tonight, was that hate is ingrained in this American culture, and one of the things that I got older is that you try to recognize, where the stuff come from, and there's a lot of things in American values that started off one way, but many values can be twisted, whether intentionally or otherwise. So when we grow up in a culture where there's a stress on individualism, so it's just about me, and it's easier to not really worry about how our actions affect other people, the whole, it doesn't always have to lead to hate, but that is the path to hate, to where everything that's driving you is about just you, and to a larger extent, just your family, your community, your group. Until we start to really recognize that it's a we thing, and whether we on whatever level that you want to, not just you in your side of the town, the poor people on the other side of the county, the other people in other parts of the country, that, we're all Americans, we're all humans. Until we get away from this individualism and start embracing the fact that we're all, we're all on the same rock. I think somebody once said, when the aliens come, the aliens is not going to really care what you look like. If they want to kill you, they're going to kill you because you're a human. Right. Till we get to that point, we're going to be stuck in the tribalism, and that's where hate grows.
Okay, and that's going to do it. I'm going to just say something real quick. A lot of people hate what they fear. So get to know what you hate. Find out, go deeper than what you see by your sight, and figure out why you hate it. It could be for whatever reason. It may not be the right reason, and you may find out it ain't the right reason. But look a little deeper into why you hate something or someone. And the last thing, we can all benefit from mental health some type of mental health counseling. And I think that's one of the first steps. If you feel like you have that much hatred, go see somebody. There's no shame in going to seeing like talking to a counselor or just talking to a friend. But keeping it in is just like gonna overflow, and then your actions and your consequences is really gonna be not something that is going to be beneficial to you. It could be something that could end your life or have you spending life somewhere else. So That's going to be it for this episode. I appreciate everybody who's watching and viewing. Arden, I appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate you, brother. I love you, brother. Dr. D, I love you too, brother, man. And thank all of you. And don't forget, next week I'll be back here Wednesday at 7:30. All right, and we're out of here.
Blue.